Well, Sonic Racing CrossWorlds came out, is what I would love to say, but no, it didn't. But the closed network test did, and that is pretty cool. And lucky me, I got a chance to play it, because I own a PS5 and make really horrible financial decisions. You know, it's weird, they held applications for you to actually be able to receive a code to download it, and they made it seem like only a lucky few would actually get it. But as it turns out, I think there was a rare few people that actually didn't get it, rather than people that did. Because, as far as I know, like a good 95% of people that applied to this actually did end up getting it. I know when you apply to it, one of the things that they end up asking you is if you're over 13 or not, and I think that is kind of the main thing that they were focusing on in terms of these applications, and you know, the whole onboarding process was just to kind of weed out the little tiny kid Sonic fans, which make up a majority of Sonic fans if we're being honest. But surprisingly enough, there was still a lot of people who had a chance to play this, and so a lot of people that will kind of help give Sega the research that they need. I don't actually know what they use this data for. I know it's to test to see if the servers and the netcode is good and whatnot, but I wonder if they're taking some of the things that people have to say about the gameplay into account too. Hi, this is me from the future. Yes, they are actually. So if you actually participated in the network test, you should have gotten an email asking you to take a survey about your thoughts on the game, and I already made a Blue Sky post and a community post about it as well. Check out my community tab for updates. But if you haven't taken it yet, please, I implore you, please take it. I took it, and I swear to God, I wrote like essays. Each and every single response box that I had, I swear to God, I wrote essays on this shit, dude. It was insane. It took me like, I think 40 minutes just to get all my thoughts into this for the team to read and to kind of digest. I have a lot of thoughts. Just about everything I said in this video, and a little bit more, I put it in the survey. And so if you agree or even disagree with my points, I don't care. Whatever you like, whatever you don't like, even if it doesn't line up with what other people are saying, or just throw your thoughts in there. Let them know. I want as many people to give their most detailed thoughts as possible, so that way that this game can come out as best as it possibly can be. Okay, back to the video. Because, look, if I'm gonna be honest, this game is not gonna come out for a long while, and I think you can very clearly tell if you played the demo. It's not particularly polished, and it's very clear that they've cut back a lot of the stuff that will end up being in the base game just for this demo, which tells me that a lot of stuff is very clearly not ready yet. But I'm sure the very important thing we're all asking is, what does Cranni think? Well, right off the bat, the first thing I noticed is that they kind of swapped out the control scheme for a more Mario Kart-esque approach. There was an option hidden deep in the settings for Team Sonic Racing controls, but honestly, I think I do prefer using the Mario Kart ones better, just because I don't like having my finger pressed down on the trigger all the time. It just feels uncomfortable after a while, but that's just kind of a preference. I don't really think it makes much of a gameplay difference whether or not you're actually going to use the Mario Kart controls or the Team Sonic Racing controls. It really doesn't matter. Second thing I noticed right off the bat is that this game feels like fucking shit. I mean, the acceleration's fine, it's just mostly the handling. It feels really clunky and kind of sluggish, and like you're driving through mud. Especially the drift. I think the drift really needs to get a rework of some kind, because oh my god, it feels like you're either drifting too sharply or not sharp enough at all, and you're just kind of going in a straight line, you know? Does that make sense? Like, you're either drifting too much or not at all, and you're just hugging a wall or you're going off-road. There's no real easy way to stay on the racetrack. It feels really bad. And you can mess around with the carts. There's a handling type that is supposed to make the controls feel better, or at least make the handling feel better, but to be honest, I can't really tell a difference in any of the vehicles. And another problem that I have is that when you're customizing a vehicle, there's no real, like, balance you can have. Like, it's either all the way handling and no speed, or all the way power and no handling, and all the way speed, and, you know, it's just, there's no real way to just have it right in the middle, like, if you want it to be that way. You really have to pick the lesser of three evils here. And there is no way to test the extreme gear, which is really sad. I really wish it was in this demo, but knowing how early this game is right now, it's probably not even finished. But, I mean, overall, once you get used to the handling, it's a pretty fun game, actually. I really enjoy it. The game graphics are really pretty. The art direction and the character design, you know, they reuse models from Forces at this point. It's kind of like a given for any Sonic game. But, I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's a Sonic Racing game. I feel like the focus would be more on the car than rather who you're playing as, because Honestly, the only difference in who you're playing as is just what voice lines they have when you do something. And that's actually a positive that I'll give this game, is that the characters aren't locked behind certain play styles like how they used to be in every racing game up until this point. Knuckles was always a power type character, so there's no real way to play as Knuckles with, like, you know, with speed attributes. That was just never a thing that you could do in any of the previous racing games. But now, since any character can drive any car you give them, now these sorts of stats things are locked behind the car rather than the character you pick, which I think is a really, really good outcome, and I like that change a lot. You want Knuckles to drive a speed car? No problem. And I already talked about it in my previous video where I talked about Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, but now that I've had my hands on it, I can definitely say that the mechanics are really, really good, and the CrossWorld feature is so nice, dude. I find it a lot more fun. Even when you're playing the same base track over and over, you still get that excitement from wondering, like, oh my god, which CrossWorld is going to be in this level? Which one is it going to be? And sometimes this thing can happen where two people can pick different things at the same time, and so the CrossWorld will randomly have to choose between a, you know, already picked out CrossWorld or a random one, and it's really fun to see which one's gonna be it. And as far as the tracks and the CrossWorlds go, given the selection that we had so far, I can't really say there's one that I hate. Now, it's very clear that they probably could have just picked either the best ones that they had, or, you know, maybe the most polished ones that they had at the time of this coming out. But, you know, all the racetracks and all the CrossWorlds, I really like them. I think they're really fun. And despite, you know, them only being like 5 tracks or something like that, I still really enjoyed it, and I never really got tired of playing any of them. Although some racetracks do really need a rework of some kind. I think it just kind of has to do with the handling a little bit, but sometimes when you go take a shortcut, it's just impossible not to fall off the track. Like, the track wasn't designed for you to take that shortcut. Like, they just implemented it, but they didn't test it. And so you'll try to go off the road and onto another platform that's kind of, you know, outside the main road, but you'll end up hitting a boost or you'll drift and you'll just fly right off the road and then have to start, like, all over pretty much. And it's just like, oh my god. And the items, dude, oh my god. Considering this was kind of developed by Sega's arcade racing division rather than Sumo Digital, it's very clear that this game takes a lot more in terms of arcade racing rather than like Mario Kart style family racing. And so when you introduce items into the mix that are akin to Mario Kart, it feels very, very bad. The item balancing definitely needs a rework of some kind. At least make it not as punishing when you get hit by an item. Because, I mean, this game is punishing as hell, and it makes it really hard to feel like anything is actually your fault. Like, you'll lose rings when you hit a wall, and while, yeah, that could be seen as a, you know, oh, I guess that's my fault, I should play the game a little bit better. When the handling feels like utter dog shit, it really doesn't feel like your fault, and since you get pretty much penalized for hitting a wall and you lose all your speed and you lose some rings, it's like, well, that's not fucking fair. That doesn't feel like my fault at all. And the same goes with the items. Just about any item you get hit with will completely cap your speed all the way back down to 0. Maybe even a negative number. I don't know. It feels that bad. Especially towards the end of the race, that's when people start just spamming whatever item they have in order to, you know, try to chip away as many points as possible, you know, getting up. You could go from 2nd to 10th in like a matter of seconds just because you get hit by one item or you hit a wall that you couldn't even avoid. And it feels like just about every item is so utterly powerful whenever they hit me, but when I try to use them, it doesn't do shit, which I know isn't actually the case, but you know, it feels unfair. This game feels really unfair and way too chaotic for its own good. I like a little bit of chaos, I really do, but this is kind of veering towards this game is completely unbalanced and really needs some kind of like tweaking. Kind of chaotic, you know? It reminds me of this one Super Smash Bros. Brawl mod called, I think, Brawl Minus, where every single character is just bumped up to be as inhumanely overpowered as possible. And, you know, you kind of know what you're getting at when you download that mod, but if I were to give it some kind of comparison, it would be that. Except, you know, for being a free Brawl mod, it's a kart racer that, you know, children are supposed to play and not get angry at. But as far as everything else is concerned, I'd say they're doing a pretty good job. Even my girlfriend played for a little bit, and she's never played any Sonic racing game, and I mean, she had fun. She got accustomed to everything pretty quickly, like about the same as I did, even though I've had experience and I've grown up on every single Sonic racing game past Sega and All-Stars Racing Transformed. Actually, even the one before that, just the normal one without the Transformed, I don't know. I was worried if this game was gonna have a really big learning curve or not, considering it takes so many different things from all the Sonic racing games, but I don't know. I guess since it's still just a kart racer, it just kind of feels right. If you played Mario Kart, I feel like this game could fit into your hands, you know, after a couple races. I thought stuff like the airplane transforming and the boat transforming and all that stuff would be overwhelming, but the only thing really overwhelming about this game is its item rotation. I mean, there is always so much stuff happening that it's kind of overstimulating at times, and it also has a really bad case of looking at it and not knowing what the fuck is going on. I can't tell what it is, but everything just kind of blends together and it's hard to pinpoint exactly what you're looking at sometimes. Like when so much is happening on screen, it just kind of all blends together and just looks like color flashing and you're like, what the fuck is going on? It's so hard to process. Like it's easy to lose your place on the screen and just where your character is and what's going on and where you're even at. Some turns you can't even see or anticipate because it just kind of all meshes into color and there's no real defining outline of, hey, I'm supposed to turn right here. It just looks like you're going forward until you hit a wall and you realize, oh wait, that was a wall this whole time and now I'm in 12. So yes, the graphics do look pretty neat. The fidelity can get a little bit more in the way, if anything. It's really hard to describe just how you can't tell what's going on, but if you played it, I think you'll know what I'm talking about. But aside from that, at least it runs pretty smooth. Even when changing CrossWorlds, this game runs at a beautiful 60 frames per second, no frame drops whatsoever. Even when everything chaotic is happening all at the same time, you can't really see anything of, you know, lag or struggling or anything like that. So while the game runs pretty smooth, the menus also feel like complete dookie. The menus will drop frames a lot of the time, especially when you're connecting to a lobby. It'll like freeze at 29 seconds and then jump down to 25 and it's just like, oh, okay, wow. It's very clear that the menus could use some optimization of some sort. And so sometimes it makes customizing and tweaking your car really clunky, but you know, the features are amazing. So it kind of makes up for it in a way, I guess. I love being able to change the colors on your car, being able to change the different parts on your car, and I really hope they introduce more car parts in the future. Also being able to change the textures on your car, although it was in like Team Sonic Racing, it's still really nice here and really impressive. Putting stickers on your car is a new thing that they introduced in this game, although I wish you could overlap your stickers because it kind of just hinders creativity a little bit when you can't make your own shapes by implementing two stickers on together. Although I noticed that the stickers do get kind of laggy, like when your car spawns in, it takes it another second for the stickers to actually spawn in, so it's very clear that whatever coding they got going on isn't actually baked into your car. It's just literally like overlapped there in post, if that makes sense. And by post, I mean like, you know, your car is coded in and then the game will be like, okay, oh yeah, the stickers, let's just throw it on there. It's more glued to the model than it is actually a part of the model, I guess. The gadgets are the best part of the game, absolutely. Although it's very clear that some gadgets are significantly more important than others, and you need to have those. Like the faster tricks gadget, you cannot do without it, alright? There's just no way you could ever win a race without the fast tricks gadget. And they do a good job of making sure you can't just put all the best gadgets into one car and just have the most overpowered car in the world. Although sometimes the gadgets do feel a little bit hindering because of it. They got presets that you can actually use in the game, as well as the manual that kind of gives you tips on what kind of gadgets you can use, which is really appreciated and really helpful. But still, regardless, it's just hard to really know which gadgets are useful and which are kind of just like there. Because honestly, no matter which way you try to play this game, you're going to lose either way. There's no winning formula, there's only a losing formula, and it's all of them. I feel like when I win, it's not me actually playing better than everyone else, it's just me getting really fucking lucky. Which could be seen as a good thing, but in my personal opinion, it's just not. Because I am not a very lucky person. And so, you know, it kind of shows in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds a little bit. I am permanently stuck in 10th place, and it doesn't even really feel like my fault. Because I feel like I'm improving more at the game the more I play it, but regardless of if I'm improving or not, it doesn't make a difference whatsoever. Like when you get more used to the handling, you take these turns a lot better, and you go about the racetracks, and you know which shortcuts to take and which not, because they'll fucking kill you. And you do all that, and I still just end up getting absolutely ass blasted in the final stretch by like 2 drills, a goddamn monster truck, the fucking teleport thing that slams an item on your head, and it's just like, okay, well, alright then. I feel like I've complained more about this game than I have given it its praises. It's really fun. It's a really fun game, but it's very clear that it needs a lot of balancing. And I can already see the comments now. The game isn't even out yet. Why are you complaining so much? Well, look, if you want them to change anything about the game whatsoever, what makes you think they're going to do it if you don't talk about it? You can't just not talk about it. Otherwise, they won't do it. that's what the whole point of a review is. That's the whole point of the test. And I probably wouldn't even get this far before they commented that anyway, so whatever. I did say the game wasn't exactly polished, but honestly, glitches that I ran into were kind of kept at a minimal. It's very clear that the parts that they did show off are, you know, at least complete, or at least mostly complete. Although we did encounter some glitches. Not playing Middle Harbor.
Oh, shit.
There's always an upside. At least you won't be dawned upon the mantle of
Why am I still a boat?
Middle Harbor. Oh, you are! What the fuck?
Why am I still a boat?
But all in all, this was a really solid Sonic racing experience, and as far as I'm concerned, this is shaping up to be the best Sonic racing game we've had yet. In all honesty, all they really need to do is just fix the handling and fix the item balancing, and you have a perfect winning formula. And honestly, I feel like a lot of the item balancing could be made a lot easier by just making the game less punishing overall. Like maybe instead of getting hit, instead of losing like all your speed, you just maybe lose like some of it, like a percentage, and make it a little bit more okay to hit a wall every once in a while. You know, like if you run into a wall, you don't lose your rings and lose all your speed, you're just running into a wall. Just kind of make it like you're gliding along the wall, if that makes sense. I don't know, I'm not a game developer, I'm not a game designer, so there isn't really much that I could give in terms of genuine advice on how to make the game feel better, but please make the game feel better, you know? But I love the mechanics, I love the character selection, I'm gonna main Sage as soon as the full game comes out. That's a promise. And yeah, that's all I really gotta say about this game. It's really good, I had a lot of fun, but there's more ways that you can make it more fun and less frustrating, because admittedly I did get a little bit frustrated when I played it sometimes. But like I said, amazing game, absolute cinema, the game, I love it. My final review score is Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, more like Sonic Racing Serving Cunt. Thank you for watching.